Hey, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on this edition of Polk Place. I'm Brian Lacey. Going to get a chance to sit down and talk with Heartland for Children about foster caregivers. And I want to introduce you to a first-timer to the show. Her name is Christa Shiver. She is the Director of Foster Care Licensing for Heartland for Children. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's your first time on the show. Did they tell you, they give you any kind of warning or?
Oh, yeah. They told me to watch out. Be careful.
Everybody gets so scared about coming on here, man. And then by the time it was over, it's like, man, I didn't even realize it would go this fast.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
But talk to me a little bit about the gig. What is it that you do for Heartland for Children?
So I'm the Director of Foster Home Licensing at Heartland for Children. So I work over our level 2 through 5 foster homes. So basically the majority of our children in care are either with relatives or non-relatives, but then about 30% of our children in care are with foster homes. And essentially I oversee all the day-to-day operations, the retention, the recruitment, any type of specialty cases within foster homes, and really making sure that they're up to licensing standards and that they're safe for our kids.
Talk about the need for foster care within the Tri-County area. These children are in a situation that has nothing to do with them. They're just children, and they're looking for safety at the moment. So talk a little bit about how the children get there and what you guys are looking for.
Yeah, so when the children do come into care, they can come in several different ways, but by the time they come to licensed foster care, we typically see anywhere from 20 to 30 kids a month that come into licensed care. And in our department, we're really needing over 50 homes. Ideally, we would like to license next to 80 homes, just to really meet the need of the kids that come in every month, plus the additional kids that we want to plan for the upcoming months and years. And right now we have, most of our foster homes are full. We have about 70 to 75% usage of our beds that are available. And on average, most of our foster homes have about 2 beds apiece. So when you have siblings come in or you have large groups of kids come in, they're separated, and they don't always get to go to the same place. They're not always in the same area even geographically, since we do cover Polk County and Highlands. So the more homes we have in the, especially in like our rural areas, that is really beneficial for our kids in care.
Talk a little bit about the fact that, I mean, how short have you been in the past, and talk about how, I mean, it's traumatic for the kids as it is, and then when you're short foster parents, talk about the roadblocks that you're being thrown.
Absolutely. Right now, actually, Florida-wide and nationwide, we're having a really big shortage in foster homes, retaining foster homes and bringing new ones in. So a lot of years, for the last several years, foster home networks have been in the negative, meaning we're losing more homes than we're actually able to gain. So that has created a big stress and a big hit to our network, essentially, for our kids. We have we have about 100 kids in residential group care, which is a step up from foster care. And that's not where we want those kids to be. We want them to be in a foster home that's a loving, nurturing, family-like setting. So we really want, ideally, to not have any kids in residential group care. But when there are no foster homes, that's where they go. And they're in a home with multiple other kids, 4, 6, 9, 10. There could be 10 kids in those homes. And it's not a family-like structure.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what it takes to become a foster family caregiver. Talk a little bit about from recruitment to certified.
Absolutely. So our recruitment process is pretty simple. Our inquiry process is pretty simple. You can actually go right on our website. You can fill out an About Me form or an inquiry form. It goes directly to my admin support. She reviews all of them. Once she receives the inquiry, she sends an About Me form. So it lets us get to know the individual or the family that's wanting to foster. There's not an income limit. There's not a household limit. There's not any limits other than really you need to be in Polk County or Highlands County to be able to serve our children for Heartland. And then also there's a background check process. So after you finish through your inquiry process, you go to the backgrounds. You come in, you get fingerprinted. As long as your background's clear, it is a level 2 background screen. Once those backgrounds clear, then we move you to what I like to call the third phase, which is we get you into class. So we have a trainer within our department that trains all of our foster parents. So it's about a 8 to 12 weeks, depending on if you do like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday, depending on what class you pick. And then once you go all the way through that class, you'll have a training with our evidence-based practice partners that we have, which is about 3 weeks long. And then once you're done with that, you get your home study. So it can take 60 to 90 days to then get the home study. We would actually come out to your house, make sure everything is up to licensing standards, provide any items that the homes need, and then once we get done with that, we submit it to DCF for the approval, and we typically have it back within a couple days after that. So it can be about a 3 to 4 month long process once you get in the door and you get to class, and then you go through all the different trainings and things that we have.
Once they go through the process and are registered, the children that they would be receiving foster wise, talk to me a little bit about how long the process is. Because I think people have questions when they hear about it, but how short could it be? How long could it be?
We really can't give a time frame. We do have a lot of kids that come into care, and very quickly they can be reunified within a couple weeks, within a couple months. But then we have a lot of kids that are those long-term children that are in our system of care that can stay up to a year, 2 years, waiting for adoption. You just never really know, but on average, I would say we would like our children to reach permanency, which means somewhere, somehow, they are now in a stable, forever loving home, whether that's back with their parents or an adoption or they close with a relative. Then we would like them to be able to close out in that suitable, stable home within 12 months.
When you talk about that permanency, the idea is always back with the parents and doing what's best and creating that family environment.
Yes.
But there are success stories, and you guys have been in many times with me, and they're my favorite stories to hear, where children don't always get back with their parents, and the foster parents end up adopting them. Talk a little bit about, there's a certain type of person that, you know what I mean, that can give of themselves and of their heart. And if they're willing to give of themselves and of their heart for just a temporary, talk about the success story of being a permanent and adopting these children.
Yeah, we have had several foster parents, even in the month of October. I believe it was October when we had our National Adoption Month. A lot of our adoptions were foster parents that actually adopted. So for them they get so attached to these kids, and they build that special bond, and this is that first safe place that they've been able to be in. And our foster parents really, they understand that, this isn't always going to be the case. You're not always going to get to adopt the child that's in your home, but most of our foster parents, when that need arises and that child needs that forever home, they're so happy to put in that application to get that response from case management and our other community partners to be able to have that vested interest where they can support that child forever and ever. We have a child right now that is actually in a group home, and she's getting ready to go potentially to a group home member staff. So it's one of those stories where they built that bond, they built that connection. She's been there for 2 years, and the biggest thing that she just wanted to do was learn how to drive. And she can't do that at a group home, and it's really hard to do that in a foster home sometimes too, if you don't have that connection with that child and that trust. And the biggest thing she wanted was to learn how to drive a car. She has her license, but she's never been able to drive really out on the roads. So when you hear those stories and you see those connections that they build when we have our events and things like that, it's a beautiful sight to see. And as a parent myself, a love that you're giving that you never anticipated that you could give. But you do get attached, but it typically can turn out really beautiful.
I want you, with what little time we have left, I want you to do your best as far as to recruit. Talk about the need, talk about the desire, but most of all, talk about the commitment that it's going to take to make a difference in a child's life.
Yeah, absolutely. Our biggest need right now is more homes. We need more homes that are committed to being quality foster parents, really diving in, loving on these kids, providing that safe environment, willing to work in good partnership with all of our community partners that we work with every day. We really need at least 50 more homes to meet the need that we have currently. On average, each home has 1 to 2 beds available, and if we had 50 homes, that would cover every single child that we have in residential group care right now. We would be able to step those teens down into a lower level of care. We would really be able to give them that home-like environment. The commitment is a big commitment. You grow attached, you learn to love these kids as if they're your own. You deal with the behaviors, the trauma that comes with that, but you have those supports and services within our community that really uplift foster parents and really give them all the things that they need in order to be successful. We offer trainings. We don't just throw you out into the wolves. We offer trainings. We have monthly support groups that are available. We have other foster parents that mentor our new foster parents. So we have a lot of different ways to really support them and guide them in how to mold and shape these kids into being, safe and nurtured and in the best environment that we can give them, which is a family-like setting.
Well, for your first time, see how fast that 13 minutes went
by?
And you're like, wow, we just started.
That was quick.
Well, listen, tell the girls I said hey, and you guys, anytime that you have anything going on, you need promoted, or if you just want to come over and talk a little bit about some of the other stuff that you do, because I help you with recruitment, I help you with the Rudolph Roundup, but I feel like I don't see enough. So anytime that you guys have anything going on, please come back and see me, would you?
Absolutely. I will let them know.
All right. I'll see you next time, okay?
Thank you.
Foster caregivers are special people who open up their hearts and their homes to children in need of safety, love, and nurturing, while their parents are working towards reunification or until another permanent placement is identified. Every child deserves to live in a safe and loving home, and in order to make this a reality, they are in need of homes who are willing to care for the teens, siblings, groups, and children with special needs. Now, for all the details on how you can become a foster family, go to heartlandforchildren.org. If you enjoyed that episode of Polk Place, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and even check out the next one.